This kitchen needs a makeover, and while my husband and I have already taken strides in the right direction, we still have a ton more to do to improve this space. The problem is, we don't have a ton of money to pay the pros for all the work, and we have to work around our little one, all while learning as we go. But we're up for the challenge and ready to put our personal touch on this space. So join me on our journey of making our house a home little by little.
So we finished the cabinets. As you can see, we did fill them, prime them, and paint them, and we installed all new hardware and also the soft close hinges. But now, as you can see, we still have to tile a backsplash. So my original plan was to put MDF beadboard up, but I just don't like the idea of having MDF in the kitchen. So then I thought, okay, we're gonna do tile. I really like the idea of a more elongated subway tile like this one. And this one has more texture to it. Looks like more organic, but this one's glossy. And I also picked up this other one, which is even longer, but it has more of a matte finish on it and even more texture, like these indentations. I do want it to look a little bit more modern or just have a little more of a wow factor. So I decided to go for a mosaic tile. So we're gonna take you along. I did all my measurements. I drew out the kitchen here. As you see, like it's a hot mess, but I had to calculate the square footage is for the backsplash so that I can make sure I buy the right amount.
So, where are we going?
We're headed to a town that's about 50 minutes from where we live. You might ask, why are we going so far just for backsplash tile? And that's because I frequent Facebook Market every single day, and I actually found some really beautiful white mosaic backsplash tile on Facebook. It's originally like $80 a box on Home Depot's website, and they're actually selling it for $40 a box. So I was like, I'm definitely gonna have to get it. I think I told you guys that we were thinking of doing Subway, but I just want something a little more pizzazz, you know? Pizzazz, yeah. So we're headed there now. That's a great like shopping tip for you guys. I think it's from like liquidators or resellers. It looks like they might have a warehouse, because in the picture there were a bunch of boxes on pallets, and they have like a bunch of other things that they sell that you can find at like Home Depot or Lowe's. You guys, like, if you don't look on Facebook before you do a project for like textiles and furnishings and stuff like that, you need to get on it, because you can save so much money.
And you can make your house look pizzazz.
Pizzazz. Okay. I don't think that's the right way to use that word, but okay. After driving for nearly an hour, we finally arrived at the Great Buy discount store to purchase our backsplash tile. And they have this tile, but this is the one we're gonna get. So I'm excited about this. Thankfully, they had more than enough tiles in stock to meet our needs, and I was able to get 4 boxes of tile for just $180 versus the over $320 I would have spent if I bought it straight from Home Depot. So we're gonna have to remove this backsplash panel. There's some nails holding it in that we're gonna have to take out. I'm gonna have to move the stove so that I can get back there more easily. And we also have a lot of patchwork to do on the drywall, just to make sure that it's a very smooth surface, so that way when I get ready to go ahead and put the mortar on, the tiles will actually stick. Moving the stove was a pretty easy process, and once I had it out of the way, it was time to remove the old backsplash panel. Oh, there we go. This is a joke. This is really...
Removing this backsplash panel seemed like an easy task at first glance, but once I got started, I realized that I was unprepared for the trouble that it was about to give me. I had to go through a variety of tools just to remove the nails from the wall.
Well, this came right off, but the nail is still in there. So I might have to take the vent down because it's slightly covering where the backsplash starts, and that nail is halfway covered on this side, so I might have to take this whole vent down, which would be really annoying. So as you can see, we have all that wallpaper to take off. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let's hope it's not super heavy. I don't foresee it being super heavy, but we're gonna see.
Removing the backsplash panel might have been a little challenging, but I had no idea what was awaiting me when it was time to remove the vent hood. The vent hood was really well secured to the wall.
There always has to be one strip screw, of course. Let's hope it stays. There's literally one screw holding it up right now. Oh great, that's not working. Okay, there we go. I'm also questioning what I got myself into because I really don't want this thing to fall on my head. Oh, there's a nail right here. And one right here. Oh, there's one in the corner. It's literally hanging on by one nail. And I'm kind of like, do I just pull it out? I'm gonna have to call my husband for reinforcement. Kay! Kay! That's gonna be so much freaking fun. Oh yeah, I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh. So I had to turn the power off.
I need a flathead.
A flathead? That was a small one.
Hubby was more than happy to jump in and get things moving along. He definitely proved to be more efficient than I was at this part of the process. With a little bit of teamwork and critical thinking, we were able to successfully remove the vent hood and finally get the backsplash panel down.
As you can see, we have a hole. I'm the person that does like the most and all that with everything. So in my mind, I see this and I'm instantly like, we need to replace that drywall. I'm just gonna wrap the wires with electrical tape. For you electricians out there, try not to come for me. This is the state of the kitchen right now on this side. Water on the floor because the steamer's leaking. I don't know why. I taped garbage bags right here because we're on a split level home, so the electric is running from this wall that doesn't stop here. The wall goes further down because there's a downstairs area, and so there's like a gap there and I don't want water getting behind there, so taping that off so the water doesn't get back there.
The next step was more up my alley, as I already have experience in removing plenty of wallpaper, and I've kind of figured out the most effective way to remove it. This steamer was a game changer in getting it done really quickly. The heat from the steam really loosened up the fibers of the initial layer, and then I was able to just scrape the remaining glue really easily with minimal damage to the walls.
And I must say, there's something really satisfying about removing wallpaper this way. I don't know, maybe it's just seeing all of the layers come off, especially when it's so clean. It's just really satisfying to watch. After removing all of the wallpaper, I just started to trim back some of that exposed wallboard just so it looked a lot cleaner and easier on the eyes. Okay, so I just finished removing all the wallpaper from the backsplash of the stove area, and now I'm gonna move on to repairing the damaged drywall, getting it prepped and ready for mortar and tile. I'm not going to tile up the whole entire wall, which means I really don't have to cover this if I don't want to because the microwave is going to be covering it. I just don't know if this is like a fire hazard, so I'm going to look into that, research it, probably call my dad, see what he says. We're just going to get a slimline microwave. Those are more expensive, but hopefully I can find one from like a reseller on Facebook or something like that. So there's another part that I forgot. We actually have a little bit of wallpaper just around the perimeter of our kitchen window, and actually going up right here. There used to be like a piece of like wood board over here, and then there was a hole in it where the light fixture came out and hung from the board, and that board was covering where that wallpaper is, and now I need to take that down. I'm gonna have to do it. It has to be done. So here we go.
Or so I thought. I completely forgot that I had worship practice at my church in less than an hour, so I needed to pause this part of the project and get the kitchen cleaned up for the night.
The harsh reality of doing DIY projects while living real life is that these projects often take a lot longer than initially expected, and with life comes all sorts of demands for our time. I might have to take a pause.
The next day, I was able to pick up where I left off from the day prior, but I needed to minimize cleanup afterwards, as I knew there would be a lot of dust during this next part of the reno. So I got to covering all of the countertops with plastic and moved the stove out of the way yet again. While this step seemed to be slowing me down from all the progress I was starting to make, I knew that I'd be thanking myself later on during cleanup. Covered all the countertops, and now we're gonna get to work. I'm gonna use this blade just to kind of take away any excess wall that's peeling off.
This was a pretty simple and straightforward process, and it didn't take me very long to do at all. This was one of the first steps towards creating a smooth wall surface for our tiles to lay on.
So I have to tackle the wallpaper that's up there, so I'm gonna use this pocket knife and this wallpaper removal tool. One thing about DIY projects is that they often seem to be fairly simple and straightforward on the surface. But once you get started, you begin to uncover the true complexity of even the smallest of
I'm tired.
tasks.
This is back-breaking work, guys. I mean, I made some progress. It doesn't feel like I did, but I did. I'm like so convinced at this point that I'm gonna need to take the frame off of this window in order to get the piece of wallpaper that's still left on this side of the window, and I still am having trouble getting some of the wallpaper that's stuck up here. I just got one of these like cleaning cloths and I dampened it, and I'm going to press it against where the wallpaper is and see if that helps to dampen it and loosen up those threads.
Dampening the wallpaper above the window with a wet cloth did help me to mimic the effect of the steamer. However, it just seemed there was no way I could remove the remaining wallpaper in the tiny gaps between the window frame and the cabinets without removing the trim.
Just finished peeling back any torn wallpaper, got all the wallpaper off. So right now I'm going to sand back the wall, make sure everything is nice and smooth and clean, and then I am going to go ahead and prime.
Sanding the torn drywall is crucial in making sure everything is smooth and there are no lumps on our walls. This step helps to close the pores of the paper back up before priming over it. I'm using the BIN shellac-based primer because it creates a barrier or seal over the surface that will keep the torn drywall areas from breaking down or swelling from moisture. This is really important because we want to make sure that the tile adhesive we'll be using will properly secure the tile to the walls. Some of you may be thinking, what is the point of prepping the walls when they will be covered up with tile anyway? But this is just another part of the process that can make or break our project when it comes to longevity and durability. And an extra step that I'm willing to take.
Safety first. These fumes are getting to me. So now I'm just going to get started with getting that joint compound on the walls.
Once the torn drywall was trimmed back, sanded, and primed, I was able to patch any uneven and damaged areas to create a better surface for the tiles to lay on. I used this DAP Drydex with a dry time indicator that went on pink and then turned white once it was dry. This part felt like icing a cake, but I definitely had to get creative when getting those hard to reach areas. I was especially making sure to take my time on the sections above the cabinets as I wasn't tiling all the way up to the walls. And these areas were going to need to be as smooth and as flawless as possible for painting. Smoothing out the walls felt oh too familiar, as I've had my fair share of sanding at this point in the game. It always proved to be a great arm workout, when done properly of course. But as I've said before, this part is a very crucial part of the process and not a step you want to skip. If you've done any sort of tile work before, you know how important it is to make sure the surface is smooth and even, so that you don't end up with a lumpy or unleveled tile job. My design assistant was inspired by the kitchen to write a song.
Fire, 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 fire.
Oh wow, I'm double masked up. That was an arm workout, you know?
Is this right there?
We prepped all the walls. Now the next step is to take the molding from around the window. The issue that we're facing here is the faucet necks on the windowsill. In order to get it all the way, you have to kind of move it. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I really don't, and I'm nervous because I don't want to mess up the wall. But here we go. You see how loose that is? I watch it, you can kind of like go up and down with it.
Removing the windowsill was a little intimidating to me, as I wasn't sure if I'd be creating more work for myself in the end. But I pushed through, trusted the process, and was able to get it properly removed.
Oh, that's fun. Always fun. Come on, we gotta get this out ASAP. And I gotta wash my hands so I don't die. Hurry, help. Oh, goodness gracious. Mold sports, and I touched them. Somebody bleach my hands. Help me, somebody.
Got a little grossed out because I discovered some mold on the trim piece that I removed below the sill, and I wasn't wearing gloves at the time. So I made sure to wash my hands a few times for good measure and put on some gloves to resume the project.
This thing is like hanging on by a thread. I don't know why it won't come out. It's like, it looks like it's fully out. Okay, I got one out. I got one out. Oh, cha-ching.
After removing the windowsill, I needed to take the remaining trim off the walls surrounding the kitchen window. This proved to be a lot easier than removing the windowsill, and I was able to get it done pretty quickly. All I needed was a little muscle and determination, and I was able to get the job done.
I see. So they use like a corner trim, like almost like a shoe molding type trim. I don't really know the official name for it. And then this is where the actual molding is. So I can caulk right there and then it should come off a lot easier now that I know. Woo! There we go.
Wow. I did it.
Yes.
Yes.
We're getting somewhere.
My design assistant even cheered me on and asked a few questions, of course.
Mom, what are you doing?
Taking this molding off.
One, and then this is like that.
Almost there. Last piece. This one's probably the easiest one. Yeah, baby. Got it. Okay. The next thing we need to do is get all of these nails out that are still stuck in here. This is really relieving, seeing how good a condition that all the wood is in. I'm very happy about that. And it actually makes me feel like we can just go ahead and replace the window. This would be really easy to replace because of where everything is. Yeah, that makes me really happy, honestly. Want to replace the window?
Maybe, eventually.
Why not today? Yeah, me and my crazy ideas. Anyways, let's get back to work.
Once I removed the windowsill and the window trim, it was important that I also removed any exposed nails from the wall and window framing. I then got to finally removing that last piece of stubborn wallpaper as well as the extra trim remaining around the window.
So I labeled this pre-existing one the top, so that way when I get the new trim piece that I need, I can literally just use this to measure it, and it'll be a lot easier for the other ones. At least that's what I'm hoping. This piece is going to sit this way in here against the window, and then my trim piece is gonna go just like that, and that's how it's gonna frame the entire window. And this gap is okay. I've watched videos of other people framing out their windows and then tiling. This gap is okay. I think that's pretty normal. The tile is just gonna cover it, and then I'll grout over it and caulk in between the trim and the tile, so it'll be fine. I'm excited because I actually know what I'm doing. At least I think I do.
So far in this part of our kitchen makeover series, after finding a deal we just couldn't pass up, we purchased our backsplash tile for just a fraction of the original cost. We took down the old stove panel and vent hood from our kitchen, and we also removed the old window molding from our kitchen window and prepared all of our walls for paint and tile. In the next video, I'll finally be installing tile backsplash for the very first time. And while I am feeling more confident at this point in the renovation, I think this tile job will really uncover if I'm truly cut out for this DIY life.